Hello humans and extraterrestrials. So before we start anything, my background is very different today. I moved my room. It's been well, not my room, the stuff in my room. My room is still the same place it was. Everything got moved about a bit, so my background's a little bit different. I'm still trying to figure out how to film stuff in this new space. Because my layout's different and I have less places to like prop cameras and things based on where my bookshelves are, but I'll figure something out. So today I'm kind of doing a, I guess, belated September and October like wrap up / balancing the books video, because I didn't read a lot in either September or October, based on nothing really except that I have not been able to see because my glasses broke, and my eyes have been in a lot of pain for a while, but it's kind of really been catching up in fruition since school came back, because I've been staring at screens all day for school as well, meaning that my eyes are in a lot of pain, which means I haven't been able to read as much. But here we go. So I'm going to tell you about what I read in September, and also the books that I hauled, and also the books that I DNF'd. So there we go. So basically, beginning with the books that I DNF'd in September, fun beginning. We have When the Curtain Falls by Carrie Hope Fletcher. I feel really bad about this book because I really enjoy her writing. If you don't know Carrie Hope Fletcher outside of her writing, is a musical theatre performer and a fantastic singer and actress. She's insanely good. She's currently in a production of Cinderella, she's currently gonna be in a production of Cinderella, which is just fan-dabby-dozy, and I'm very excited about it. But this book, the premise was really interesting. It was basically a ghost showmance, which is like, that's a fantastic premise for a book, but the language was just really clunky for me. I'm also like a bit iffy on paranormal romance sometimes, if that's what this could be categorized as, but like I highly hope that someone else who picks this up enjoys it more than I did. The 100 pages of it that I read before I decided I couldn't do it anymore. I'm sorry, Carrie, I do love you dearly, but I couldn't. Okay, so that is the one book I DNF'd in September. I read two books in September. The first is, they're both audiobooks, but the first is I finally finished Becoming by Michelle Obama, which was just fantastically, effervescently brilliant. It was 5 stars for me, which is high praise for me, especially considering not only was it just generally fantastic, but it was also like a memoir, which I don't tend to give 5 stars. I usually give them 4 stars. I'm quite nosy, but I'm quite particular with them, so I would highly recommend it. Her voice was just like, listening to the audiobook too, like her literal voice is like honey, but also her narrative voice is just fantastic. The story she told I found so interesting. Her life in the White House, her own political activism life as a result of being in the White House, her family conflict, and it was all just so enthralling to me. And I'm very late to the party, but I would still highly recommend it. And I think it's something that's really, I guess, topical. I hate to put it like that because I don't think that a minority's life should ever be topical, but it is quite topical in today's climate. So yeah, that was fantastic. I could go on about it for hours, but it's fantastic. The other book I read was Between the World and Me. This book was about being a black boy in America, and it was like kind of a love letter to his son, this guy's son, whose name I cannot remember, but it'll be on there. And it was just beautifully done. It was really short. I think it was like 3 hours long, but it was just brilliantly written, and I really enjoyed it thoroughly. I don't have a lot of specific stuff to say because, as I said, it was really short, but really powerful, and I would highly recommend it to anyone at all who hasn't read it. So yeah, and the only book that I hauled that month was Between the World and Me's autobiography. So going on to October, I read 1 book, I hauled 2 books, and I'm getting rid of a hell of a lot. I haven't actually counted how many yet, but there's quite a few. So we're gonna start with the books I hauled, I think. So yeah, the first book I bought that month was Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. Now I love Cassandra Clare's writing. God, I've not filmed a video in a while. And I love her style, and I've been wanting to pick up the Dark Artifices, which is what this is. This is the first book in the Dark Artifices series. I've been wanting to check out the series for a long while, but frankly I just didn't want to. The books are expensive, and I was tempted to buy a big series, but I didn't. But when I was out one day, I just saw it and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna have it. So yeah, I've started reading it. I'm not very far in because I can't see anything, but I'm really enjoying it so far. And this is the story of Emma Carstairs, who is a shadow hunter and is basically trying to figure out the mystery of her parents' murder, because within the plot of this, and I guess this is a spoiler for like the past series, but not really. But there's a character in this series that was known to be like a horrible big murderer who killed a lot of people in the past books, and did in the past books, if you've read the Mortal Instruments series, you will know, did some bad things. The big government in the Shadowhunter universe are saying that that's the person who killed her parents, but she does not believe it because the nature of their deaths was very different to that of everyone else's. It was very calculated and specific, whereas the person that killed everyone else, it was kind of just like cold blood, stab, stab, stab. So yeah, and she tried to figure this out while also having her parabatai Julian Blackthorn, and their familial relationship is so interesting. And I'm really excited to like get deep into this. I'm only 80 pages in and it's very long. It's like 600 and something pages. Like for YA, that's a lot. 668 pages is a lot for YA, and I'm quite excited for it. So yeah, the other book that I hauled that month was Queenie by Candice Carty-Williams. I don't know a lot about this book. I remember there being a lot of hype when it came out. I know it tells a lot about race and family. I know those are like the two main themes within it. And I know it's about someone presumably called Queenie. It just looks fantastic. And it was also recommended by Bernardine Evaristo, who has written a book that I have not yet read, which is Girl, Woman, Other, but I've also heard fantastic things about, so I'm quite excited about this. I'll get to it eventually. It's also like somewhat lighthearted, which I think everyone needs a little bit of at the moment. So yeah. Now on to the one book that I did read this last month, which is With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. This book was a 5-star, wondrous, fantastic, brilliant story. I loved this so much. This is about a girl called Amoni who basically wants to be a chef. She wants to be a chef. She's, I think, 17 years old, and has a child who is three-year-old little girl. Yeah, she has a 3-year-old daughter. I cannot remember her biological name, but she calls her baby girl throughout the novel. Oh, I don't remember her like I don't remember her like her birth certificate name, but she goes by baby girl. And this is basically a story of Amoni trying to balance life and like school life and home life, and also the hardships of having a kid but not being in a relationship with the person you had the kid with, and having like a really complicated relationship with that person. But as well, basically the starting point of this story is that she is in her like senior year of school, and they get to take electives, and one of them is a Spanish cuisine culinary class, which doesn't sound like a big thing, but there's like a well-known fancy chef that does it. And there's also a trip to Spain where they can go, which she would love to take the class, but the Spain trip is like mandatory and she's not particularly well off. And it was fantastic. I don't want to spoil it for you, but it was brilliantly written. All the character work was fantastic. I loved the way she spoke. Like, to me, she spoke like a 17-year-old. Obviously with a 17-year-old with a lot of differences to me. I am white and not pregnant, and I'm far better off than she is in many ways, but I like the sort of tone of being a teenager. I really enjoyed that, and I really like the way it was written, and it's just fantastic. I would highly recommend. There's also like a slight romance in it, which is just really sweet. Like, it's really sweet and respectful and nice. So yeah. Okay, now on to the many books I'm going to get rid of. Some of these books I've started, some of them I haven't. This one, if Jessie the reader ever sees this, is going to absolutely kill me. But Ransom Riggs, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. So this, I don't really know a lot. I know that it's about like an island that has like a home for peculiar children, and it's like an abandoned orphanage, and like they do magic, and like some of them float and some, but like I tried reading it and I just couldn't. I have nothing against this author. I have nothing against any of these authors or their books, and I really just hope that this goes to someone who's enjoying it. So I think I'm probably going to send it to, I'm either going to try and give them to my school library or give them into like a charity shop or something, because a lot of them are in relatively good condition, because I keep my books in relatively good condition. So yeah, I wasn't feeling it. I think I picked it up one day because I was like, oh look, that's well known. A few years ago, that was tended to be how I picked my books, was like, oh, I've seen that everywhere, I should get it. And it led to some fantastic choices, so like The Sun Is Also a Star, and they both die at the end, but it's led to some less than good choices. For example, I've read like 2 pages of this and was like, nope. So yeah. The next one is one I just picked up because it's something that interested me, and that is Fairies, The Myths, Legends and Lore by Skye Alexander. This is basically a story about the myths of fairies and the fae, and as much as like it's interesting, I just don't feel the need to own a book about it, because it's something I can do my own research on, like in my free time. That's not to say that this book is useless. I just think, as well as someone who is kind of a witch, a very much a baby witch, like I am a Wiccan, and I practice it. Having a book about like the myths of fairies doesn't sit right. And the fae and like their different lore and different, like, it just doesn't sit right with me. And this also isn't, like, in the most respectful way possible, this doesn't seem particularly, like, it seems kind of like she went on the Wikipedia pages, you know? So yeah. The next one is one that I wish I was so close to finishing and then just entirely gave up on, and that is Fun Science, A Guide to Life, the Universe and Why Science is So Awesome by Charlie McDonnell. I bought this. Does it still have my bookmark in it? I don't know if it does. But I bought this when I was a huge fan. I still really like Charlie So Cool, like, in Charlie McDonald's content. McDonald's content, it's not McDonald. If you're unaware, he was like one of the veteran YouTubers, like one of the first. And one of his series is Fun Science, where he makes science fun, or was, because he doesn't really do YouTube videos anymore. But this book was basically a compilation of all of his information in a very like palatable way. Like, it's very simply written. Like, it's almost like a fun little textbook. Like, it's very full of, you know, like, it's quite kid friendly and user friendly is the phrase I was looking for, but I couldn't think of it. And like, I find it so interesting, but it's all very simple. Not that it means that I would necessarily know it, but it's firstly targeted at people. Firstly, it's that was my dog. Firstly, it's targeted at people far younger than myself. So I feel like I'm being spoken down to a little bit when I read it. not necessarily, but like I feel like he's like, and this and this and then all the things, and like there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just not my vibe. And this isn't like, again, I don't have nothing against nonfiction like educational books if they're like well credited sources, but this isn't a well credited, like these aren't well credited sources. I think if I'm right, I have a few others that I wanted to get rid of, but I don't know where I've put them, so they're just gonna stay there for the now. I might have already gotten rid of them actually now that I think about it, but yeah. Okay, the next one is Our History of the 20th Century, compiled by Travis Elborough. This is a book that basically tells the 20th century of Britain, like told through journals and letters. Oh, I didn't realize it was grey underneath. That's cute. So I got this a few years ago in the works. I remember it has sort of lots of blah blah blah. Lots of different letters and memoirs and stuff, and there's like, for example, there's one about Mrs. Pankhurst arrested. Let me read it. It was so cosy at home this evening. The shop closed, we were sat and worked. Gertie came home with the news that Mrs. Pankhurst has again been arrested. Militancy will thus receive a fresh impulse. I admire Mrs. Pankhurst and feel she fought a good and brave fight. I know how terribly hard it is for the human spirit not to retaliate, yet I think if even one retaliates oneself, it does not seem right to incite others to violence. And it's really an interesting thing. I just know for a fact that it's going to sit in my house. It's going to, like, if I don't get rid of it, it will just sit in my house or my flat or whatever for the next, like, 40 years, and I will never read it. I find such interest in it, but I know it's just going to sit there. Like, as much as I would love to read it, I don't think I ever will. And I know that some other person will find far more interested in it than I. Although, looking into it, I kind of want to keep it, but no, because I'm never going to read it. So yeah, the next I have two series next, actually. But I'll go read them one by one. So the first one is the Legend series by Marie Lu. I feel bad about this because I got this because this was like a really big dystopian series a while ago. And I just picked it up, and I think it's like an adaptation of Les Mis. If I remember. Yeah, based on the retelling of Les Miserables. Yeah. I don't know if they're in the right order. I think it's the other way around. No, I think it is this way. But I picked them up because they were popular, not because I thought I would like them. Which means I'm probably never going to read them. Most of the series I pick up, I buy in trilogies or in like the series as opposed to individual books. Which is kind of it's a good decision because it means I always have the full series, and like a matching series. But it's a bad thing because it means that I've got to get rid of 3 books instead of 1. So yeah, I'm sorry, Marie Lu. I know people love you and your writing. Dystopian just isn't my genre. This set of books is also a very similar situation. However, it is not dystopian. It is fantasy. So Shadow and Bone, Siege and Storm, and Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo. This is the first trilogy in the Grishaverse, and I am chucking it out. I'm so sorry to anyone that loves the Grishaverse. I know how much people are in love with Six of Crows, and I thought it was like mandatory to read Six of Crows. Not that I know that I ever will, but it was a series that I wanted to have read. But I couldn't. It's just so YA. Not that there's anything wrong with YA, but it's very like, this was clearly like, oh, and the boy, and as I was like, it's a bit like that. Like, it just annoyed me, and I feel really bad, but we're getting rid of them. So there, I have 2 more books to get rid of, and then that we're doing our outro. So the first one is The Familiars by Stacey Halls. I picked this up in a bookshop one day because I liked the cover. And I like the concept. It's an interesting concept. It's about the witch trials and set in Lancashire 1612. And I find it really interesting. And I find that time period really interesting. but I just don't know if this book's for me, to be honest. That's my answer with most of these. It's just like, I don't think it's my thing, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I should have probably like read the first chapter, or like read a few pages before I bought it, and then realized I immediately hated it. So yeah. This last one I am gonna get some fire for, and I am like, I know that's gonna happen, and I'm just gonna have to prepare myself. So, The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I'm sorry, I know. This book is, as far as I know, very much a queer iconic book to a lot of people. It is the story of Achilles and Patroclus, who are, I don't know if like in the actual mythology they were in love, but this is certainly this interpretation of it, and it tells that whole tale. But the writing style I just couldn't get into. Like, I just felt a bit, it felt similar, and this is going to be a real compliment to some people and a real insult to others. It felt a bit like F. Scott Fitzgerald, wherein I could have, like, if they just cut out all the crap, it could have been like 50 pages long. Which I know is like what the actual, like, I know like what's the point in writing the book then if it's just the story, I know, but I just couldn't get through it. I'm so sorry. I didn't even get to the bit where they started like being together or anything. I just couldn't get through it. But yeah, that's all of them, folks. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 books that I'm getting rid of. Or sorry, 11, 12, 13 books, I think, that I am getting rid of today. That is plenty. As someone who doesn't own that many books, that's a significant amount for me to get rid of. But yeah, that's all I've got. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, you know what to do. Also tell me how you feel about this background, if you would rather see me sitting in front of my bed, because I can do that too, or what your thoughts are. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, you know what to do. Please remember to drink your water, eat your vegetables, and peace out, I guess.